Hello and welcome to off-season NBL overtime. What a wild week in NBL free agency. Shawn Long blew up NBL Twitter 2 days ago when he announced that he's coming back to the league and thinks he's going to Melbourne United. We will see how that plays out. Melo Trimble, he's going to replace Casper Ware at Melbourne. Barlow and Pledger, they're both signed up. A couple of backup point guards also signed across the league. A lot to get through. As always, we've got my man Corey Homicide Williams. Corey, no Cam, but we'll hold it down.
Yeah, we hold it down. You know, we got my man Wertho in the building.
Yes, four-time NBL All-Star 5 member and just an absolute legend of the league and a member of the Fox Sports commentary team and star, out-and-out headline act of the sports, a very popular sports bet Trash Talk podcast.
He's also a former Boomer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Former NBL champion.
Has done.
There's a lot of formers in there. A lot of current.
And current media darling, Mark Worthington. Thanks for joining us. Where were you? It's a where were you moment. Where were you when Shawn Long dropped it on Twitter that and things just blew up from there?
I was at Bruce Gray's gym at Body World in Balaclava, and I picked up my phone and I said, there's something's going on here. Because usually when something happens in the NBL, we get a few more messages than what you normally get, like what's going on here. And Shawn Long's just said, bye-bye New Zealand, hello Melbourne.
Yep.
I'm sick of being asked, I'm sick of Melbourne United not saying anything, so I'm just gonna come.
We have a heck to get through. We're going to talk a little bit about Adelaide as well, but let's dive right in here about Shawn Long. This is what he tweeted. I'll be back in the NBL though. As he said, I'm not going to be in Auckland or with New Zealand, so bless up. And then he said, everyone is blowing me up. I'll just go ahead and say I'm excited to sign with Melbourne United. Thank you, the Breakers, for the opportunity and support last season. I look forward to joining one of my good friends, Melo Trimble, this upcoming NBL season. Let's go. And I think maybe it was at about that point, Corey, they started getting some calls from the United front office.
Look, it is what it is. A man is not going to come out and say something like this if he was not coming. You know, it is what it is. You should have told him from the beginning, look, let us tell you when this needs to be released first.
I can guarantee you that he got told not to say anything, but he would have, because every club does it. Okay. Don't say anything till a certain point.
Was he just excited to be joining Melbourne United?
I think he's on the other side of the world just going, I'm sick of people just asking me. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm done playing this game.
All right.
Let people just know. But I can guarantee you, I've been a part of Melbourne United.
Yeah.
They would have said, don't say anything. Just hold on to it and we're going to announce it at a certain point.
All right, well, so the cat is out of the bag. Melbourne United said, oh, well, we hope that it comes true, blah, blah, blah. He tweeted, it's since been deleted, but he tweeted, look, I haven't signed yet, hope to do that next week. Clearly, they've agreed to terms. Let's assume it's done. Shawn Long will be the starting centre for Melbourne United.
Yep. Best center's back in the NBL. The best center is back in the NBL. It's my opinion. You don't have to like it. What was his numbers in the second half of the season? About 25 and like 13, okay? He adjusted better in the second half than he did in the first half with his foul issues, okay? I believe next season he will fully adjust as well as the referees adjusting to calling games versus centers game in, game out.
Liam, I'll ask you this question.
Let's go.
Which trio do you like more? Do you like Casper, Kevin Lish, and Bogut? Or do you like Trimble, Goulding, and Long?
Jeez, it's a super tough question. I've got an answer. Let me first respond to something Corey said. Because the best centre is back in the NBL. He said about a week or so ago, of course I'm coming back from the Warriors and taking my spot back up in the purple and gold. I signed for 2 years. I'm going to be there. We're building something special. So yes, we already knew the best centre in the NBL.
Why is he the best centre in the NBL?
The league.
Why is Andrew Bogut the best centre in the NBL?
He's the MVP of the league, mate. Did he not win MVP? Did Shawn Long win MVP?
No.
Was he first team All NBL?
Nope.
Okay.
Was he the defensive player of the year?
Nope.
Was he the most impactful defender in the league?
No.
Was he top 5 or whatever, top 6, 7 in assists?
Shawn Long
Nope.
Did
was
he make
a
his
Spanish
teammates
bullfighter.
No. Tell me when I can go.
You can go whenever you want.
Thank you very much. All of these amazing qualities and attributes Andrew Bogut brought to the game individually and for his team. Right? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
Cool. What happened in the finals? His ass got swept. Did he average a double-double in the playoffs? No. What happened?
He was still in
He
the
got
playoffs.
swept all the way to Golden State.
So
he got swept.
how is he the best centre in the league if he's supposed to be the best player in his team and they don't even make finals?
Watch what happened next season.
No, but that's next season. We're
I'm
talking
just telling
about
you
this
what
season.
his numbers were after he adjusted to the referees, and you saw what the numbers were against everybody.
Okay.
He killed every center. It was not his fault.
Okay.
Corey Webster did not show up. Shaley did not show up. He had nobody. Look at his team. He had nobody. Nobody showed up consistently.
I love how Bogut was swept all the way to Golden State, to the best team in the league, to the NBA playoffs, maybe to an NBA championship. Whereas Shawn Long, who had a 2-week head start on the off-season, just quietly, where was he knocked out to?
He decided to work out all off-season and focused on Summer League. That's what he said.
He's in China right now.
Yeah.
Look, okay.
This is the other thing.
Hey, and I'm a huge Shawn Long fan.
Yeah, I'm a Shawn Long fan too. He's a great player.
A beast.
But he's not the best player in the league.
It's so good to have him back in the league. So good.
I love the off-season.
He's just not the best center in the league.
But you talk about Shawn Long having to adjust to referees. You don't think there was an adjustment period for Bogut as well? Not only referees, but style of play and all that to what he's been used to. And this is a guy that's been coming off numerous injuries. And so his ability and what he did this season was incredible. All right? Did he put up the offensive numbers that Shawn Long was able to put up at the end of the season? No. But was he the most consistent centre last season?
Yes, he was.
And that's what makes him the best centre in the league. Thank you.
And Andrew Bogut versus Shawn.
You're talking about next year. Like I know Liam doesn't argue like this with you on the show.
Right.
And so this is a different beast too.
Okay.
But you're talking about next year.
Wait till next season.
Bogut versus Long next season is.
I'm telling you, Melbourne
it's
against
be so
Sydney.
good because Bogut versus Long was good last season, but it was Sydney versus New Zealand, which is okay. That's fun. It can be at times, but Sydney versus Melbourne, the two biggest cities in Australia, the two biggest markets. And they've taken Casper Ware. It's a beautiful.
And let's not forget, both teams have an import to play with, so that's probably going to be the biggest factor out of all this. Who's Melbourne United going to bring into that?
Bring in Lamar Patterson.
They ain't bringing in Lamar Patterson.
Why not?
Well, look,
Why not?
Hey, look, we're going to talk more about the Melbourne lineup in a minute. We're going to talk about Melo Trimble and all that. Firstly, I want to mention Josh Boone because Shawn Long's signing, and we're assuming it's a signing, it's announced that we're under the impression it's going to become official sooner rather than later. That means Josh Boone's not going to be at Melbourne United. Now, he's been there for 2.5 seasons, won a championship, all NBL first team we know. He went online onto his Instagram and posted this. Now, let's make our way through it. Firstly, he thanked all the Melbourne United fans. You can read there what he said about that. Then he thanked all of his Melbourne United teammates, and he said some things about that. Now, let's read from there on. Finally, thank you to the Melbourne United coaches and front office. I won't lie, I'm very disappointed that 3 seasons, a league championship, a first team All-NBL did not earn me a single message, phone call, or otherwise this off-season. But business is business. I've loved playing for Dean, respect him as one of the very best coaches I've had the pleasure of playing for throughout my career. I like this bit. For now, as is the case a lot in this business, it's on to the next one for me, but who knows? Maybe I'll see you all again sometime. Thoughts?
I think, he's right. That happened with me when I left Townsville after 3 years. I didn't get a phone call or a text. I read it. So I can see why he feels the way he feels, and it's right. One side of it, you can't scream, family, family, family. You don't treat family like that. I mean, you will automatically know if you're not coming back.
Okay.
Just give him a buzz. Look, I don't want you to hear it anywhere else. You hear it here first. we're going another direction. That's all a player asks for.
It's worth flagging, though, that it feels like Shawn Long's gone early on this. So there's a party that has to give Melbourne United the benefit of the doubt, say the plan would have been to tap into Josh, say, look, and say exactly that.
Why do I have to wait the day when you're going to announce it? You already know what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. So just tell them. That's all. That's it.
I've been in a similar situation to Josh Boone.
With that same club?
With the same club, with the same front office.
Okay.
So maybe my side is a little jaded and skewed on this one. I like that Corey said.
Where's this going?
I like the fact that Corey said, why does it have to be the day before? If you're a good club and you respect your players, because you expect a lot from your group, any front office does, not just Melbourne United, but any front office, I think reputation gets around at some point. So this all could come back and bite Melbourne United back in the arse one day. I don't know. Money always talks, we know that.
Yeah. And
but
guys have been re-signing there over recent years.
Yes.
Recent hours.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you're right. We preach family and team and all that, but when a hard decision's there to be made, I think we leave it too late. The front officers leave it too late to say something. Okay. So I would have preferred them to just say, and they would have had a good idea. I think even mid-season, they would have had a good idea. Like it took that long for them to re-sign Josh Boone last year, with the issue being age. Well, that doesn't change. He gets older another year.
Right.
I think they didn't win a championship. I think maybe it's a little bit different if they win it all, but because they didn't get it done, they're like, well, what can we do to get better? And so they would have been looking in another direction.
Yeah, I think the interesting word in that post was this off-season. He's not saying that I haven't heard from him in the last couple of days. He's saying I haven't heard from the entire off-season, which, again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in saying...
What do you know? You know something. Is he going to the Phoenix?
Well, there's...
Yes, got him.
Come on, Liam.
Come on.
Give us something.
Cop it up.
Hey, there's going to be some teams that are going to talk to Josh Boone. Why wouldn't you?
Okay.
If you need a starting centre, and there are some teams. Perth need a starting import centre. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix need a starting import centre.
New Zealand.
They need a starting import centre. And Josh Boone was super close to signing with New Zealand last year. Now, the guy who he wanted was potentially to play with, enjoyed playing with in Melbourne United's championship year, was thinking about reuniting with in New Zealand.
I'm a grown man.
He now plays down the road here, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So they're going to look at that for sure.
The other one would be interesting would if he goes to Illawarra, because that would be a vet with a really young team that they're building there. So someone like him could get a little bit more responsibility on the voice side of things, but be able to play. They still don't know what they're doing with Dave Anderson. Is he coming back? They might lose that leadership. I think that would be a really good fit for him.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. And it's amazing how often you see guys land, when they go to a new team in the same league, they often land at a team they put up massive numbers against at periods of time.
Right.
We saw Ramon Moore give Adelaide buckets in pre-season, when he's 1 year in Melbourne United, the next year. You could tell Joey Wright was like, whoa, look at this guy. Next year, he was a 36er. Melo Trimble lit Melbourne United up last season. He got a big win at the end of the season. Yeah. Knocked him out of first spot.
And had the 40-point game up in Cairns.
And nearly won that one. And now he's at Melbourne United. And Boone had some big games against Illawarra. In that quadruple overtime game, he had enormous numbers. So, hey, you never know. Let's talk about Melo Trimble. Now, obviously, we're talking about Melbourne United, but they have been the big players that were asleep, it feels like, for a part of time in free agency. But they've been the big players in the last week. Trimble will replace Casper Ware as the starting point guard at Melbourne. He will team up with assumed Shawn Long. It'll be Trimble, Golding, McCarron. We're imagining they're going to get another import small forward if it's not DJ Kennedy. And that's going to be the squad. Do we like Melo Trimble at Melbourne?
I don't think... I prefer Casper Ware. I think our man's already said it multiple times. He's the best two-way player in the competition.
But he was gone.
Yeah. What you've got now in Long and in Trimble is you've got two offensive-minded guys.
Yes.
My biggest concern for Melbourne United is on the defensive end. Now, Dean Vickerman, we know that he loves defence, so maybe he can help turn Trimble and Long into a defensive-minded group. However, proof is in the pudding, and we haven't seen it so far. So it's going to be interesting, especially early in the season. You probably get away, but come finals, is this group going to be good enough defensively to be able to put it together to make the stops when need be?
I think it's a big ask, but I think that he knows in his game what needs to tighten up, and it's defense. So if he's committed to that defense, it's about commitment and effort in that area. And I think he knows he's stepping into a role with the team that's looking to win a championship, and he's post-Casper Ware. So he wants people to feel like we made the right decision here. So he has to play defense.
The one thing that I'd say, because I commentated every Taipans home game this year, is his attitude. And it's really a laconic attitude. He doesn't really read into everything that's going on around him. Now, when you move to Melbourne, you're either going to thrive in doing what you do because you don't care about what anyone says, or there's this whole new pressure placed on you that you didn't have up in Cairns. You're with a winning club now. You're the front door to the house. Is that pressure going to buckle down to him? And we're not going to, I don't think we'll see the numbers that he had in Cairns, obviously, because he's got a greater support cast around him. So what sort of player are we going to get in Melo Trimble this year compared to last season?
I think we're going to see the same numbers because he's going to get the green light just like Casper did. He's going to be in the same position like Casper. He just has to deliver that into W's.
Yeah, well, having a guy like Shawn Long as the center, though.
Pick and roll, it's going to be crazy.
Well,
and he can pop, because we know Shawn Long can shoot the three. I'm telling you, that's the best. Wait till next year.
Last season.
That's all I'm going to say. Wait till next year.
I know we're going back to Shawn Long, but there's so much to break down when it comes to that signing. Last season, New Zealand were the worst defensive team in the league. And it's despite all the talent that they had, they couldn't get it together defensively. Shawn Long could not stay on the floor in the first half of the season when they were trying to play man-to-man because he was in foul trouble, game in, game out. They went to the zone the rest of the year. Now, if you talk to a few guys from New Zealand, certainly you talk to people like Ty Wesley and other players, there was some frustration about having to sit in a zone game in, game out. And it cost them. They did it against teams like Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney who shot them to big losses in those games. Dean Vickerman, as you say, is a defensive-minded coach. He has won championships in New Zealand and Melbourne where his teams were the best defensive teams in the league. And he had elite defensive point guards on those rosters. Cedric Jackson and Casper Ware. Melo Trimble's a very, very different player. Does Vickerman have to change the way what he prioritises and what he does defensively and how he coaches this team with this lineup, or does he need to make those guys fit what he does?
I think he's got to try and change those guys and their attitude towards defence.
So he's got to teach Shawn Long how to stay on the floor playing man-to-man defence.
I believe so, because look, I think Melbourne United, they're looking a little Swiss cheesy down the defensive end at the moment. There's a lot of holes there. Okay. There's a lot of Spanish bullfighters that just allow people just to go ole. So we saw Chris Goulding have difficulties on the defensive end last year.
Improved dramatically.
And in the come finals, he did. He made some big plays. But you can't have three guys not willing to play defence or struggling because they're worried about offensive numbers down the other end. So I think that's where Dean's issues are going to be. And I think Dean, out of anyone in the league, probably has the most capabilities to get the best out of his players on the defensive end. He's proven that in the past, that it's been a build. So they will have their struggles early in the season. I have no doubt about that. But I think they have the capabilities to play defence down the backstretch.
Look, I'm going to say this. If I'm the coach, play defense or sit down, I'm going to challenge you. That's it.
And he did that with Chris Goulding last year.
What happened?
And he's got Alex Pledger.
Well, guess what? Play defense or sit down.
And he's got Mitch McCarron who can handle the rock.
Play defense or sit down.
Yeah. Which is what I called for the approach I called for Cairns to take during the season last year.
Play defense or sit down.
I love it.
That's simple. I'm not here to coddle you, man. I'm not here. You're getting paid to do a job. I'm going to have a conversation with you before we sign you. My man, listen. Here's the reality. Are you talented? Yep. Can you shoot? Yep. Where are you a liability at? Defense.
Why aren't you in the NBA?
Defense. You want to get to the NBA? Mm-hmm. Yep. Here's what you got to do. Prove it. We know you can score. I'm going to give you the keys to the car. We know that. Defensively, what you going to do? Casper Witt left us. You want to fill that void. Can you do it? Yes or no?
I love it.
Can you do it? Yes or no? You want to be in the NBA? Yep.
I'd
what do you
love
think
to
you
be
need
in
to
the
do,
NBA.
Shawn Long? Play defense, stay on the floor. Are you ready to adjust? Yep. Show me.
If not,
bye. Sit down.
And,
simple.
And both those guys, like you say, in the NBA, both those guys are hungry to get there. So sitting down is not an option for them.
It's not an option.
They need the numbers.
They need the numbers. All right, then.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on to another centre that's been signed throughout the week. It was Tom Gervais, the backup centre for the Perth Wildcats, who had a pretty good grand final series, and he's going to make his way to the far north and play for the Taipans. Perth wanted him back. They offered him another deal. It was only a one-year deal, but it was a slight pay increase from what I'm told. He didn't take that. There were other teams interested, certainly Southeast Melbourne Phoenix were keen to have a conversation, but the Taipans swooped in with a 2-year deal, a nice package from what I'm told, and he is going to play there. Werther, you're the man who covers the Taipans more than anybody else.
Well, we've just gone from Shawn Long to Tom Gervais. Some teams are playing checkers and some teams are playing chess.
Oh.
And there's nothing against Tom Gervais. He's been an outstanding backup centre in this league for a long period of time. What he gives the Taipans is leadership. He doesn't take a backward step. He's able to mingle with the best of them physically. And he brings a culture awareness of what the Perth Wildcats have been for a number of years, and he's fit the mould perfectly. So I think it was a good get for the Taipans as a backup centre. It now places a question on Nate Jawai and his future with the Taipans because they're both at the same age, they're both at a similar position. Maybe those two change places.
Maybe.
Over to Perth for Nate, but time will tell on that one. But yeah, obviously, where do we go after we just talk Shawn Long for the last 25 minutes?
Yep. Well, I mean, those teams have to do what they've got to do, right? They've got to find the players, and I think Tom Gervais is a handy little pickup. Before we move on from everything, we've got to talk about the Adelaide 36ers because...
No, we've got to talk about the Taipans and what came out in the media about them being in financial trouble.
Okay.
First off, they ain't in trouble. The question was, what do the Taipans need to do to retain their talent? The Melo Trimbles, the Mitch McCarrons, the Cameron Gliddens, the stars of the NBL that have moved on from the Taipans. It's simple, and this is what he said. We need to change our ownership model. They are community-based at the moment. They would like to go into a private ownership so they can pay these players to stay, because at the moment, facts are facts, they can't compete with the bigger clubs.
Yeah.
So this got spun totally in the wrong direction in the last 24 hours, all right? The Taipans are fine. They will continue to do business as usual, but I think what they're looking to do is go into private ownership so they're going to be okay for the future to retain these players, because between Mike Kelly now and Aaron Fern, they've found absolute studs.
They have.
But these studs have moved on for more money.
And when you're a community-owned team and you play in a smaller commercial market, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the resources or the funds to pay over the cap. And go into that world of, I'm going to pay over the cap and I'm going to pay some luxury tax. No, what you need is some help from the salary equalisation subsidy to pay to the salary floor. And if you can get there and there's more money in the coffers to pay to the cap. And it's only when you have that private ownership model do you have someone who can dip into their pockets and say, all right, let's go.
And let's be honest, the ownership, some of the sponsors in Cairns made a really good attempt to keep Melo Trimble on board. It didn't happen, unfortunately. For the fans of Cairns, they would like to see stability now of these stars to be able to stay so they can support them, not we're a feeder club. We find these great players, now Brisbane's going to pay them or Melbourne United's going to pay them. They want to be able to retain their stars. So they're in a small town. There's only so much you can do as far as asking for sponsorship of what's in town before you knock on that door. Getting a private owner is the way for them to go forward.
Yep. We don't have much time left, but I do want to talk about the Adelaide 36ers because their fans are nervous that that it's all quiet on the South Australian front. Here is their roster, Corey, as it stands at the moment. Brendan Teese has not been announced, but that's only a matter of time. We understand that he's on their roster and that's signed, sealed and delivered. So that's the 7 they've got. Now from that, they need an import point guard to start. They need a backup point guard and they need a backup big. That'll take them to 10 and then do what you want to do. You've got all the bases covered. Do what you want to do with your 11th player. Let's bring up the graphic with the sort of remaining top names swirling around free agency. I want to know we don't know what they're going to do with their import point guard, but let's talk backup point guard and backup big. Where do you think they should go?
Well, obviously Adam Doyle knows the system and I thought he was great in the back half of the season last year. Kevin White, I can totally see him playing under Joey Wright. And then there's Peter Hooley. Now, Peter Hooley is probably the interesting one for me. I think he's got that style that would suit Joey Wright. If I'm Adelaide, he's probably the guy that I'm looking at to go after and all that. As a big front, I think they'd like a little bit more leadership, and David Anderson would be a guy that could definitely bring that. Now, does David Anderson necessarily fit the Joey Wright style? I'm not sure. Then Cam Bairstow becomes the interesting option for me. Because I can see he's a no-nonsense sort of player. He's built his tank up. We saw that throughout the year. That was actually half decent come the end of the season. So if I'm Adelaide, I'm probably looking at Peter Hooley and I'm probably looking at Cam Bairstow.
Corey?
Cam Bairstow for sure. Flip a coin, Adam Doyle, Peter Hooley.
I reckon the one guy that they might look at and I think might be having a bit of a conversation with at the moment who's not up there is Daniel Dillon, who always
has a job. He's staying with a job.
Always has
Shout
a
out
job.
to
And would be great to
Daniel
see him
Dillon.
back in the NBL and doing some good things because he was almost back with Melbourne United, got hurt and it didn't work out. And I also think, as is usual with Joey Wright, who is chilling in, I think, Rio de Janeiro.
right now.
in Rio.
I think they're going to have at least one, maybe 2 rookies. And I think there are a couple of good underclassmen that are about to come out.
I was going to say that those free agents are fine, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joey Wright finds someone.
He'll find.
And he's been the best at it for quite a few years now.
He'll find some diamonds in the rough for sure. All right, that pretty much wraps us up. Wertho, thank you so much for chiming in, getting loud and
thanks,
bringing the
mate.
heat.
Always a pleasure, Wertho.
Thanks, brother.
Corey, good job as usual. Well done. Cam, we look forward to you joining us again
Where's
next.
Cam?
I don't know what he's doing some racing or I don't know. He couldn't.
Warrnambool.
Is he in Warrnambool?
Oh, he's down in Warrnambool for sure.
Well, he's enjoying life down there. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.